The period of time to get a 501c3 is a little bit varied, and I'm going to give this a little longer answer than probably most because I think it's worth understanding there's some nuances in the approval process. But for the most part, there's two parts to the process. One is establishing, under state law, a nonprofit corporation. That generally can take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. The second part is obtaining approval from the IRS that the organization is a 501c3, which generally takes anywhere from 2 to 6 months. Now, where's the nuance? Okay, number one, 2 to 6 months is actually a significant sort of upper and sort of lower sort of threshold of how long it takes. When you submit an application to the IRS to be a 501c3 organization, when the IRS receives your application, it has three basic piles that it puts the application into. One is the simplest and most obvious recognized charity. In other words, if you're functioning in animal rescue, that's pretty straightforward for them. They put it in pile one, so to speak. And by the way, they don't use these terms like pile, but that's basically what they do. If it's a little more complex and they read the application, they realize, wait, there's some subtlety here, we need to review this a little bit more carefully, they put it in pile two. And the most complex organizations, for example, if you're doing open source technology or you're promoting programs that help mitigate people's credit issues and things of that nature, which require more sophistication, they put those applications in pile three. Okay? Pile one gets reviewed the quickest, pile two second, pile three the longest. We've seen applications sometimes take up to 10 months or even 12 months from pile three. So when you're submitting, why do I go through this? When you're submitting your application to be a 501c3 and you're trying to say, well, how long is it going to take? You also have to understand, like, and think about internally, like, well, how complicated is what I'm doing? And how nuanced is it? How clear is it that it's all about charity? Because if there, for some reason, you have family members, for example, that are compensated, these are interested parties under Section 4958, that might actually raise a red flag for the IRS. That might put it in pile two or pile three. So realize what you say on this application will actually generally correlate to how long it takes to get approved. Okay, so I finished that component to it. I also want to talk about one other thing that is kind of nuanced and should be on your radar. If you're looking to expedite your application, it is possible. The IRS has rules and regulations around making an expedited request to have your 501c3 approved. Anyone can make the request as long as you follow the procedures. They do not guarantee, however, that even if you request an expedited review of your application, and even if you have a compelling reason for the expedited review, of which I'll talk about in a second, they do not guarantee that they will actually retain and accept your request and do it under their expedited procedures. Now, if they did accept it, we've seen applications approved in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks, which is unbelievable for the charity founders, the board of directors, and the staff, etc., which is awesome. But there's no guarantees, number one. But what should you state in these expedited requests are really the compelling reasons of why it needs to be approved quickly. And obviously, natural disasters like what happened in Australia or Hurricane Katrina, those are reasons that are compelling for the IRS to actually expedite approval. Additionally, if you in your organization, which is generally trying to qualify as a public charity and is in line to receive charitable funds and contributions, and you have specific donors that have made commitments, sometimes called pledges, to your organization, if you're a 501c3, you can use that to bootstrap an expedited request to get approved more rapidly. So be mindful that you can submit the expedited request. Also understand that it may not be granted. If it is, though, it could be as quick as 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. or 8 weeks, which is incredible. If it's not granted, it will go through the normal review process, which again could be 2 months, 4 months, or 6 months, depending upon the complexity of your application, as well as how busy the IRS is, depending on which agent its hands fell into. So there's a lot of variance in terms of time for approval, but overall, I would think very sort of conservatively about the amount of time and guesstimate anywhere from 6 to 10 months from beginning to end for the process.